good. Okay, my internet is dodgy, and so what I suggest that in order to reduce the bandwidth, we kill the video and we kill your microphones unless you actually want to say something. What I will do is I will present what we want, what we are doing, and then I will pause every now and then, ask if there are any questions. You can wave your hand or something, or put it in the chat, and we will try and respond to the questions then. How does that sound? Okay, my name is Paul, and I am doing the cartography for this the project. I imagine you have all seen the map that we are working on, but let me just go through it very quickly with you so you can see what we're aiming at, and then I will show you how we go about getting the information into the map. And thank you for any help that you can give to gather information that can go into the map. And there are various ways of getting information into the map, and we can discuss the best ways. Probably the easiest for you is using Excel spreadsheets, and I can show you how to do that and the various stipulations necessary for the data in the spreadsheets, because the information has to be structured in a certain way. Otherwise, we have to go through a lot of cleaning to do it. So let me share my screen with you. If I can find the right screen to share. Okay, if you if you go to the pastoralpeoples.org website, I host screen, and you can see that it's made up of various data points. If you click on what pops information on the right-hand side. Can everybody see that? Please shout if you can't see it. Okay, so what we need is to gather this information that appears on the right-hand side here. It consists of various chunks of information. There's the name of the group, Shetland Crofters in this case. There's a photograph, there's some information about the photograph, and then there's some information about the species and breeds that the group keeps, the location, the country, the language, and then there's a description about that group, about 100 to 200 words. And then there's a set of sources of more information, and then there's something on compiled by the person who did the compilation, which in this case would be, if you submit the information, that would be you. There's also associated with it the location, which is where the map pin goes. And so we need to gather that information. We also, that's about a particular group, such as the Shetland Crofters, or in Southern Africa, the Basotho, or in the Philippines, we have some Newfoundland, we've got some sheep farmers in the Newfoundland, etc. And so what we need is to fill in information both for the map pins that are already here, because most of them are don't have this level of detail. Let me go to Spain, for example. Pastores Españoles, there's not very much information there. We need to feed in a lot of information here. In Italy, let me we don't have any groups at the moment in Italy. Let me scoot to Bangladesh. And you can see they don't have anybody in Bangladesh either. So we definitely need a lot of help from you to go in the map. From Argentina, from Maria Rosa. come over to Argentina. A number of map points from Argentina, and these are based on Maria Rosa's brief that she did for the League for Pastoral Peoples on Argentina. But again, there is not a huge information here about these groups. Some of them, Pastoralists, yes, we've got a bit of information there. Okay, we also want to get information, and let me just show you the here for organizers of the red maps. We've got the organization name, the logo, the species that it deals with, the region or countries that it deals with, the type of organization, the level of organization, the functions of the organization, the pastoralist groups that it works with, if it does in fact work with particular groups, and a description of the organization, their address, etc. And then again, there's a compiled by there. For each country, we would like to have 3 or 4 of the main organizations that are working with or for pastoralists in that country. So you could imagine for Turkey, we might have 3 or 4, Italy, there might be a few, Spain, there might be a few. So for each country, we'd like to get not about that amount of information. Obviously, there's a lot more organizations that are working with pastoralists in each country, but we want to go with the main ones. Okay, so that's the map, and you can see that it is structured in a certain way. Let me show you how that works. And let me make sure that I can share this screen with you. I hope you can now see a spreadsheet or a database on the screen. It's an online database called Airtable. It's a free online database. You can sign up for it yourself if you want to use it for your own use. I use it a lot. It works kind of like a cross between a database and a spreadsheet. And you can see there's a set of rows, a set of columns, and there's a set of rows. And the columns are the fields, and the rows are the various pastoralist groups. I'm in this particular tab here called Pastoralists at the moment. So let me put a filter in, and let me filter for Germany. So I'm going to have where the country is Germany. Okay, and we've got 4 groups in Germany, and you can see that we've got their name. There are other names. These are the names in English. These are the names in English or German. Region, ethnicity, language, country, location, species, breeds, and we can tab over here. And you can see there's the description. Let me expand that so you can see there is the description. There is a source, source 2, source 3. There's the staff name. The staff name turns into the contributor, which is the who compiled it at the end, and that's the credit that goes in there. I see that Pius is arriving, so let me add him. Point is a latitude and longitude point, and I will show you how to get that. And then there is a link to a photograph. If we have a photograph, then we need to get the photograph, and that goes into a link here. Okay, what we do is that we gather the information in Excel and then dump it into Airtable, and then I upload it to the mapping software. And I do that with a comma-separated values file, a CSV file, which is the same as an Excel file. I can dump from this into the map, and then it displays it on the map, and whatever information there is there will display on the map. Okay, so that is for the pastoralist groups. Let me just show you the same thing for the organizations. There's this tab here for orgs. A number of organizations here. I showed you earlier, there's the information about the Yolda initiative, and you can see the sorts of information that we've got there. Some of these things are generated automatically. So icon row is the little animals, the little animal silhouettes that appear. The flag list are the flags of the various countries that appear. There's the address. There's a latitude and longitude for the organizations, etc. And there's the organization's website, description of the organization, there it is, etc. Okay, so you can see the sort of information that we need. Let me show you now show you the Excel sheet that we use to gather this with. Oh, sorry, maybe I should stop there. Do you any questions so far? Any comments or questions so far? If you have a question, then please unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Yes, Francesca.
You want only organizations, because very often there are lots of transhumans and pastoralists, both in Italy and in Spain, for instance, and in France, but they are not necessarily belonging to any organization, but they are really there are lots. How is it?
Okay, there are groups. There are groups, and then there are organizations. Now, what we're calling groups, those are groups or communities of pastoralists. So let me share the map with you again. So each of these pink dots here is a group of pastoralists that happens to keep sheep. Okay, so let me go to a group in France here. They're alpagiste, and this is it's a pastoralist system, if you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and so these are these are the people that herd their animals up from the Rhone Delta in the they keep their animals in the Rhone Delta in the winter, and then they herd them up into the Alps in the summer, and then they bring them back again. Okay, now that's a community, if you like, of pastoralists. Now they're not organized, or maybe they're organized as a group, or they have an association or something, but that's not what we're interested in. For this particular thing, we're interested in the community or the pastoralist system. So, for example, in Italy, there are groups that herd their animals up into the Dolomites, where you are now, yeah? And
yes, but not only. For instance, I just was in Sicily, where there is a group of where there are several. In Sicily, there is different transhumances of different animals, and there is one of donkeys, for instance. That's very important, but it's not a group, it's not an association. It's just that community that is making this donkey transhumans. For instance, just make an example of something that is only singular. It's not many families, it's or group, but it is a community, a village, which owns this donkey place, which has been taken from mafia. 4,200 hectares that they have taken from mafia, so it has a political very big impact. So it has its importance, but I cannot call it an association. For instance, I just make an example.
Yes. Oh, okay. How big is a group?
Yeah.
Let me give you another example. Yeah. Let me zoom into this one.
I didn't hear you.
Paul, every time you move the map, your voice gets lost. So I would recommend that you first move the map and then you talk.
Okay, thank you. Well, I will try to.
For instance, in northern Spain, there is a family who is making transhumance since a lot of time with I think 120 horses, but it's also only a family. It's not a community. So do you want to have them? Don't you want to have them?
Okay. I think we are not interested in individuals. We're interested in systems or in communities, if you like, of people that do similar kinds of things. Now, let me give you the example of the urban shepherds. The map pin is in Paris, and there are a number of individual shepherds that bring their animals into the city of Paris, and they graze them on urban parkland and in open spaces in the city. Now, okay, if it were one family or one individual that did that, I would say, okay, probably not of interest. But there are similar groups of people that do the same thing all over Europe. So there is in Berlin, in Cologne, in Göttingen, in Lyon, in Brussels, there are similar groups of people that do the same kind of thing. And so we've given them a label, urban shepherds, and have described the system that they have here. So now, with your example of donkeys or horses, I don't know. You are the best judge of that to say whether it is generalizable as a system or not. You're the best judge. You know the situation much better than we would.
I mean, for instance,
we don't want to. I don't imagine. I don't imagine having a map pin for every city in Europe where there happens to be one urban shepherd. No, that would be too much clutter in the map. But we can certainly have a map pin to describe the system as a whole.
Would the number of kilometers they do be important?
Not necessarily, no. Some pastoralists don't know very much at all.
But that could be a data that is interesting for the description.
Yes. Yeah. So some pastoralists move hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, and some of them don't move at all. It's they are location bound, if you like. So
it's important that they cross cities and make for this urban pastoralism, no? If they cross cities or big villages, no?
No, the important thing about urban pastoralists is that they conform a group. So it's a significant movement, let's say. Finally, what happens with this map, Francesca, is that you have information that you have to put into drawers, so to say, okay? We are trying to map pastoralists in the world, but obviously we cannot map every single pastoralist family. So we have to make groups out of them.
Yeah.
And given that the urban shepherding phenomenon is widespread in Europe, we consider it valid to come up with one drawer, one category, that is the urban shepherds.
There is a similar group of pastoral or shepherds that do the same thing in New York. And I looked it up, and as far as I can see, it's 1 man and 5 sheep. Now, I don't think he qualifies. Yeah, so he is too small and unique to be represented in the map. So we have to make a cutoff somewhere. Yeah. So it's I think think in terms of categories rather than of individual families. If those families fit within a category, then fine, wonderful.
Then I have other example. In south of Italy, there is the last family making 185 kilometers, and it's making several regions, and it's a family that is doing that more than 500 years. So it is really a traditional place where they were making, they have some 700 cattle. But it's only one family. It's a big family. They are almost 45 or something like that. But so it's not easy to make the limits, yeah. But it's significant for that region.
Sure. Okay. Then I would say to that, I don't know how you feel, Pablo, about that. I would say yes, that would qualify, because it's a significant number of people, and there's a tradition behind it, and
yeah.
Maybe
so we have to see case by case, no?
Yes. Use your best judgment, I think.
Okay. Sorry for interruption.
Exactly. I think in that case that should be included because it has a tradition, and even if there is one single family right now, probably there were many families in the past. It's a little bit like the biological species in the red list of species. There may be one sort of animal where there are only like 10 individuals left, but because it's a species, we know that there used to be many more animals in the past. So it's worth including. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see Buyan has a comment in the chat. He says there are flocks of pigs owned by different individuals, but managed by paid persons throughout the country. This is Bangladesh, I guess. Would that be a group? Yes, the answer is yes. The owners and the people that do the herding are not necessarily the same people. They can be hired, they can be family members, the animals can be rented out. There's all kinds of different patterns or modes of operation. So yes, by all means, do include that. Okay, does anybody have? I think. Thank you, Francesca. It's a very interesting question. It's one possible way of approaching it is to focus on the big groups first, and then go down to the smaller ones, and then we'll see how far we get. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, let me shift to the Excel spreadsheet so you can see what that looks like. I'll try and find it. And share my screen again, which is this one. Okay, this is a spreadsheet that I will send you. And the top 3 rows are instructions. And then the 2 gray rows, rows 4 and 5, are examples. And I have selected a couple of examples from France. Okay, and you can see that each column here is the same column as in the Airtable database thing. We've got name, other names, region, ethnicity, etc., etc., etc. And the second row is the explanation or a summary of what that is. So let's look at name. It's the name of the pastoralist group, if they have a name. If they don't have a name, then you have to give them a name. So, for example, the alpagistes in France, that's what they call themselves. So, okay, let's use that name. And I've given a couple of alternatives names in the other names there: Éleveurs des Alpes du Nord, or in English, livestock raisers in the Northern Alps. Now, livestock raisers in the Northern Alps is my invention. We have to call them something, so let's call them that. And if somebody from France wishes to give them a different name, a better name, then wonderful, we will change it. The urban shepherds is my invention. There are these groups go under various other names themselves, In German, for example, they're called Stadtschäfer, but in English, I've called them urban shepherds. Again, if you've got a better name, then we can replace that. Okay, the third one is, the third row is the explanation as to what to fill into here. So what you can do is you can start on row 6 and you can start putting in the information into the spreadsheet. One row per group. Please don't go over more than one row for a particular group. If you need to use, if you need to have more than one paragraph in a particular cell, then you can hit Alt Return in Excel and it will give you a line return there. Okay, I think most of this is self-explanatory. Others that have had problems with this, they say, well, what does that mean in my particular context? Now, one of them is ethnicity. Ethnicity in some places has a big meaning, and in other places it doesn't really mean anything. So ethnicity in East Africa is it's how people identify yourself. You're a member of a tribe, you're a member of the Maasai or the Samburu or the Turkana, and that's your ethnicity. And it may be the name of your group, your pastoralist group as well. In other places, ethnicity doesn't really mean anything. So, okay, French, okay, but it doesn't distinguish you from any other group within France. So if in doubt, just leave it blank. Languages, if we know the languages, sometimes language is an important characteristic of a particular group, and sometimes it isn't. The country or countries, their groups can be in more than one country. So, for example, the urban shepherds are in France, Belgium, and Germany. The location, you'll see these double asterisks I've got here. That means boldface, and it's how the mapping software, if it sees double asterisks, it says, that's boldface. So what I've used is the convention boldface for the country, and then the département or the region or the district in following that. And if there's more than one country, then the country is all in boldface. Okay, the species, that should, those are the species that the groups keep. If they have particular breeds, then please give us the breeds as well. And so the cattle, Abondance and Tarentaise, and then sheep, Taunes et Marteau. Those are the particular breeds that those groups keep. Now we have a separate database on breeds, and one of the things that we are thinking about is to link this somehow with other databases on breeds, such as the DADIS database and FAO. So if you're interested in that particular breed, then you can click on it and that pops more information about the breed. So that's why we were interested in breeds. Okay, the description. This is not more than 200 words, describing the system that these particular groups follow. And you can see the sort of description that we have here. Maybe it's a description of the system, what they do, if they're transhumant, what they do in summer, what they do in winter, what their land types are, whether they own the land or whether they're using common land or combination, how they feed their animals at different seasons, whatever. Describe the production system. And then anything else that is of interest about the particular group. So an interesting thing about these alpagistes is that they make cheese. So, okay, let's talk about the cheese that they make. And the particular cheeses there are listed there. So give us a little bit of explanation about the groups. Now, this for me is the time-consuming bit. about gathering information. It's summarizing information that you've managed to glean from various places and putting it into 100 or 200 words and having it make sense to somebody who has never been to that country and who's never come across this particular group. Now, one of the things that I've found is that something that the locals take as being obvious isn't obvious to somebody who's never been there. And so you need to think outside your own particular locality and say, okay, how can I make this understandable for somebody that has never been to that particular country? Okay, I see a question in Pius. Hi, Pius. Some pastoralists, individuals own diverse animal species, cattle, sheep, chickens. Okay, should they be grouped per livestock species? No, that's if it's the same group, then list all of the species in the species column. And then you will have the same description would relate to those species. So if they keep sheep and cattle, then describe the sheep and describe the cattle in that same description. Please don't split it into separate rows. We want one row per group. Now, if there are two separate groups in a particular area that can keep completely different species, they are separately definable groups. Supposing there's one group that keeps cattle and camels and another group that keeps sheep and goats, then obviously they are two separate groups and you need to define them. You need to give us a description separately. And I'll show you how that works on the map later. Yeah. Also from Pius, what happens when in a situation where a group speaks one language but have a different names in different countries, like the Turkana in Kenya, Karamojong in Uganda, and Nyanganatom in Ethiopia, and Toposa in South Sudan. Okay, Pius, you know a lot about more about this than I do. Pablo, maybe you want to comment. I would say keep them separate because they're in separate countries, but make a note that say that they traditionally call themselves the Atakar in this particular case, and that they are related to the such and such in the other countries. So in that case, you would have four rows, one for the Turkana, one for the Karamojong, one for the Nyangatom, and one for the Toposa. But you would note in the description column that they are related to, or they regard themselves the same as these other groups in the other countries. Now, some groups do cross borders, and they are known by the same name in the in each place. So the Somali, for example, they are in Ethiopia, Somalia, and in northeastern Kenya, and that's, I don't know, you again, you know more about it than I do, but I would treat them as one group. Sabina has raised her hand, I see. Sabina?
You could also mention this in the description, the situation, like Lupa, what you described in the chat now, you could also take it in the description to explain the special situation, that they are in different countries and have one language. You could make a short note also on that in the description, I think. Paul, would that be okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Francesca says, would it be interesting also to have a separate column for the products that they produce? I did think about that. My feeling is that the products are not that diverse, and that we can put it in the description for the time being. There may come a time when we want to separate it out and say, well, they group they produce meat, cheese, and milk or something like that. But most of the time it's going to be basically that. It's going to be meat, cheese, and milk. Hides, horns. That there's not going to be a huge amount of variation in that. If there are particular varieties of cheese, this is a very European thing, then I would just name it in the description. Yeah. Okay. Francesca says, in the case of donkey transhumance, they make mortadella from donkey meat and cosmetics. Okay, then wonderful. Say so. That's useful, enriching information. Pranav says, in certain cases, pastoralists are classified by the state rather than by the community themselves. Hence, their identity gets muzzled. The pastoralists I work with are different names in different states within India. Okay, you're the best judge of that, Pranav. There is, we in the name column, we've got one name. And then in the other names column, there are alternative names. So you can give them a main name that will appear when you click on the that map pin. And then when you click on the map pin, then up pops a sidebar with all the alternative names. So you're the best judge as to what their main name is.
In any case, these questions I find are interesting, and I would rather go for, because usually in the academia also, when there is a uniting name, like in the case of the Karamajong and the Turkana and the Toposa, they use a teker. Maybe it's worth using the unified name and specifying in the description the name of them in each of the countries. I don't know. I mean, that this is something, because this is so dynamic, because this is a participatory project. These are things that we can discuss, that we can reflect, that we can even change our minds.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't know the answer to that. It's I've been to Kenya a fair amount of times, and I've heard about the Turkana rather than the Atakar. But again, the country specialist, in this case, that would be Lupa. You would be in the best position to make that decision. Okay. Should I just whip through the rest of the spreadsheet? As you can see, it's not too many columns. The sources, they've got source 1, source 2, and source 3. And these are, where did you get the information? Now, there's 3 types of information that I have come across. One is the scientific literature, and if you've got a good research paper or review article which has got information about one particular group or about several groups, if it's a review article, then and it's by somebody respected and all that, then that's the best source. You might not have access to the scientific article, the full article, if it's behind a paywall. If you need an article, then please get in touch with Pablo, and he will try and get it for you. Is that okay, Pablo?
Totally.
Okay, so Pablo can get you access to the articles that you need. If it's available online, then, well, please give the full citation details, the author, the initials, the year, the title, blah, blah, blah. And then if it's online, then the web address as well. So in this example, I've only got the web address, but I should have put the main title in there, the author and title as well. I will do that before I send this to you. We've got room for 3 sources. So 1, 2, and 3. That's probably enough. I haven't come across any examples yet where it hasn't been enough. If you've got 4 or 5, then please shout and I'll find some workaround for that. Okay, the staff, that's your name. So we know who to credit this to, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. There's a notes column, and these are notes to ourselves. So these do not appear in the map, but they are notes to ourselves saying, please check whether such and such is correct, or not sure about the spelling, or something like that, to remind ourselves. We hope that this is going to be empty, but if it's not empty, then that's something we need to chase up on. Okay, the point is that's where the map pin goes. And let me show you how that works. And I've got to flip to Google Maps to do this. So I may disappear. 1 second. Go and find Google Maps. Okay, that little star there is where we live. This is in Germany. If I click on it with a left click and then I right click on it, and I get this coordinate pop up. And if I click on that coordinate, it copies it, and then I can flip back into Excel and I can put that, I can paste it in there. Let me do that again for you, just in case. So I choose somewhere on my map the rough area where the group is. Obviously, it's not going to be a street address. It's going to be a general area. So you don't need to go in and go into huge detail on this. You just click somewhere in the map in the general area where they are, you click, and then you right click. And then flip into Excel and you plonk it in there. Okay, and that's how you get the latitude and longitude. Please don't have 2 groups with the same locations, because if you do, then the map pins will be exactly on top of each other and we won't know that there are 2 of them. So the map pins have to be separated by some distance. Okay, the last item, and you can see that I've got a couple of file names for photographs here. Now, photographs are very difficult to find because we have to be very careful about copyright. We can't publish photographs to which we don't have the rights. So what I have been doing is I've been going to Google. If I don't have a photograph myself, which is most of the time, I go to Google. Let me find a Google here. Where are you, Google? I look for a particular group. We were talking about the Turkana, so let's Turkana. Let's just type in Turkana there. I go to images, and there's a bunch of pictures of Turkana. I want ones that I have a right to, though. So I go to Tools, Usage Rights, Creative Commons Licenses. And those are for Turkana there, which I know that I can use. Now I am looking for a photograph which has got, hopefully, a picture of people and of animals, because that's what we're really interested in. We're more interested in the people than the animals. Ooh, not a very good set of choices, are there?
Why don't you write in the search bar Turkana cows?
Well, let's try that. If I do Turkana cow, then I have to go back to Tools and Usage Rights again and Creative Commons again, yeah? Okay. We've got all kinds of stuff there, but not...
no luck.
No luck, no. So you can see how difficult it is. Turkana cattle. Let's go to usage rights again. Ah, this looks a little more. This one, it's got some Mzungu there, yeah, which we don't particularly want. That one, no, that's Samburu, not Turkana, it says, yeah. But that's a Rendile. That's not, they're not Turkana either. So I don't know how Google, that's a hippopotamus, goodness knows. Okay, if I were to choose one of these, I would probably choose this one, I think. Even though it's Samburu, yeah, it says Samburu.
And another option is, of course, to take the picture ourselves and then, for example, post it on Wikipedia, which uses Creative Commons license, and then it can be used in the database.
If you've got one of your own photos to use, then you can provide the rights to use it, and then we don't have a problem. That'll be good.
And then where will they be hosted, Paul?
Okay, at the moment they are hosted on my website, and then I am linking to them from my website. Now that will change as we shift to a more sustainable system. But all of the photos and all of the little icons. Okay. What we need with the photographs is a certain set of information. And let me go again to the Airtable to show you that information. I've got a separate database on photos. Okay, and these are the photos that we have there already. As you can see, there aren't many of them. In the notes thing, we've got the license, if it's a Creative Commons license, etc. If it's by one of us, so Ilza took a particular photograph, I took a particular photograph, Maria Rosa took a photo, which we've thrown up there. There's the file name for the photograph, there's the attribution, there's the group that it belongs to. So that links with the particular organization, or the particular pastoralist community that it belongs to. So what if you are able to provide photos, then we'd be very grateful, because it's so much more enriching to have photos in that. Pius says we can give our photos, but we'll give credit and ask for user rights from the owners. Yes, please do. If you can provide us the name of the photographer, if maybe yourself or maybe somebody else, we will put a copyright symbol or a Creative Commons or whatever it is there, so they are credited. Going back through the chat. Let me see, let me go to an earlier comment by Zabina. Currently, ecosystem environment information can go into the description. Yes, that was in response to a question from Lupa. Later, perhaps we will develop special layers in the map to show especially this information. Yes, we are collecting information at the moment. We are hoping to underlay various other types of information into the map, such as movement information and ecosystem information, land type information. And we are looking at different ways of doing that. At the moment, with this particular mapping software, it's kind of tricky. We're thinking of moving to a different mapping software that would make it a lot more easy, and that would allow the user to choose the layers that they can see. So you could imagine you could choose a layer to show Kenya and the groups in Kenya and the ecosystem types in Kenya, and you can see which group is where and where they move. So that's kind of where we're going. Mariana says we can have the picture ourselves, but we have to ask for permission to use people images. If you're taking pictures of individuals and those individuals are recognizable, strictly speaking, yes, in European law, yes, you do need their permission. You need to sign a release form. I don't honestly think it's a problem though for us, unless you have somebody who is close up enough to be able to recognize them. I can show you a couple of photographs that I have taken where I've used the photos elsewhere and the individuals know about it and it's not a problem. Francesca says, how do you provide license on my own photos or those of friends to who give them to me, allowing me to use them? Again, we would put that, it will be in the attribution column here. You would have to tell us what that attribution is and this particular thing that you can, is it a copyright, is it a Creative Commons or whatever it is. Yes, Pablo has answered that in written form by email. And Pablo has also responded to Mariana's one. Mariana says, how do you clip the picture to Excel? No, you don't. You send the photo to us in a separate file and with suitably labeled so we know what it is. And then I would include the information in the Excel spreadsheet. Yes, Lupa, you don't upload the photo to Excel. Just send it to us as a separate file and label it as Samburu or Turkana, whatever it is, and then we know which one it is. Francesca says if you have to we have to get written permission of the individuals. Strictly speaking, yes, you do. Yeah. Okay. Let me go to the organizations so you can see the information that we need for organizations. One second.
Sabine, you have your hand raised. Do you want to talk?
No, I don't.
Okay, fine.
One second, I thought I had finished this, but I didn't. Let me just tidy this up a second so it's presentable. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen with you for the organizations. Okay, it's a similar thing with the organizations. Most of the, I've done a similar thing. You can see there's the names of the fields across the top here. Got to put that at the top. That's legible. Okay, let's put a line underneath that. Okay, these are the organizations. Maybe this, and again, what sort of organizations are we talking about? These are the 3 or 4 main organizations associated with pastoralism in your countries. They may be networks, they may be research organizations, they may be, I don't know what. So I've put a couple of examples in there again. There's the League for Pastoral Peoples, well, we got to have them in there. We can probably put your own organization. If you are affiliated with an organization, then we'll put your own organization in there as well. There's the name of the organization, the abbreviation, if it has one, there's the other name in the local language or whatever. If your organization has a logo, then please send that to me separately. The species that the organization deals with, maybe it's all species, or maybe it's just some of them, then please list those species. The countries that it works in, if it works just in one country or two countries, then fine, name the countries. If it works in a region, then say Europe or Southwest Asia or something like that. The web URL, the contact information, etc., and then a brief description of the organization. And keep it short. It's basically, what does the organization do in relation to pastoralists? Then there's the type of organization. There's various types here. There's intergovernment, government, NGO, herder association, private sector, or academic. And then the functions of the organization. So advice extension, advocacy, breeds, blah, 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 blah. And I hope that covers everything, but if you think of an extra category, then let me know and just type it in there. The level at which it works, does it work at international, national level, or local or subnational level? Any notes that you have, any groups that it particularly works with. So for example, the League for Pastoral Peoples works especially with the Raika in India, not only, but especially. And then the address of the organization. And again, the point, the data, the map point where that organization is based. And that's probably going to be its street address. In which case, yes, you can, in Google Maps, you can go into that. Let me just show you how it works with this one here. I've copied that address and I'm going to go into Google Maps. Google Maps. I paste the, didn't work. There's the street address there. And there it is. So you can, again, click on it and right click on it and then click on that. And then you can go into Excel and paste the data point in Excel like that. Okay, so so that's about the organizations that that we are collecting information on. Again, not too many organizations in each country, please. Just the main ones, just the 3 or 4 main organizations that they're probably going to be networks or umbrella groups that that can then provide information about all the other organizations in your country. Okay, let me flip back to the map again to remind you where we are at. Oh, let me choose the Western Isles in Scotland. I did this one yesterday to gather this information about crofters in the Outer Hebrides. To gather that information probably took me a couple of hours. So that's the sort of time input that it's taken me to do it. Now, the information is in English in this case, so it's easy for me. And there's a lot of information on the web that's about these groups, which I just have to go through and I have to write something. I managed to find this one photograph. There you can see the photo of that, and this was a Creative Commons one, so I'm not afraid of using it. This stuff here, these little icons and things like those are generated automatically by the information that you've given us. And this information here, the compiled by, I hope that your name would appear there, and then we would have a credit for you at the bottom with your organization, your country, etc., and your email address. If you don't want to be credited for whatever reason, then please let me know, and we will I will exclude it. Going back to the chat, Lupa says, supposing it's a pastoralist individual providing this information, can I list his name rather, or her name rather than mine? I guess use your best judgment. Pablo has responded to that. If it's a collective that provides the information, yes. Yeah, so Pablo has responded to that. If in fact the information is supposed to be more robust, if there's a participatory process to get it. I mean, you have key informants that provide you with information, then obviously feel free to give them their names, give their names here in the more information section. Pranav says, can we cite an independent grouping of the collective of pastoralists rather than the organization that claims to work with the community?
I've provided a response to that.
You've responded to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to scroll down and see it.
Okay. Yes, Pablo says that the aim of listing the organizations is for the people worldwide to have an interlocutor on pastoralism. So yes. Okay, Francesca says, if an organization is working for the recognished transhumance as a World Heritage, for the moment, only for 8 countries after having worked in the first 3. Are you interested for this map? Yes, yes, certainly, Francesca. Yeah, not all pastoralists are transhumans. Yeah, there are many are, but many are not. Pranav, yes. Many organizations often claim credit for work that they do. Yes, but the purpose of the more information section is to not only give credit, but it's also to point people, to the users, to more information, where they can get the more information. And if that information is in a paper, then so be it. If it's in a website, then so be it. I did mention that there were 3 sorts of information sources that I have come across. One is the scientific literature. And okay, fine, if you've got access to that, that's good. The second is Wikipedia. Wikipedia has quite often got good information on particular groups. And if that's all you've got, then fine, use it. Sometimes it's very sketchy and there is very little information in Wikipedia, but okay, it's better than nothing. The third sort of information is what you might call the popular literature. And this I'm talking about newspaper articles, blog articles, travel articles, videos, YouTubes, goodness knows what, yeah? And some of that information can be very revealing. It can be a lot more communicative than the scientific literature. So by all means, yes, do include that as well. We are considering including a section on videos. So if you've come across good videos about a particular group, then please do point us to those, and we will consider including a separate section saying videos, and then people can click on it and see what it is on YouTube or whatever. Okay, I think that's it. Does anybody have any more questions? See that Sabina has joined from her iPad. Mariana says, will you send us the Excel? Yes, of course. There are 2 Excel sheets that I will send you. I can also, if you'd prefer to enter it directly into Airtable, I send you a link to an Airtable file for you to add information to. I will make sure that it's not the master file, so you can't mess up anything. But if you prefer to do it that way, then that's fine too. If you're not comfortable with Excel, then, and you prefer to use Microsoft Word, for example, then let me know. I can send you a Word template to send it to fill it in as well. It's obviously easiest for us in a spreadsheet format because you can dump it straight into Excel, but Word is okay as well. Okay, as you can see, it's important that the information is structured because to fit into the map is essentially a database that's displayed in a visual format. And if it's not in the right structure, then the software won't know what to do with it, and I'll have to do a lot of data cleaning. And if I do data cleaning, I'll probably make mistakes. So the cleaner you can get it to us in Excel or in a database format, the better. Okay. Sabina, I imagine, has all of your email addresses. We do have
from Mariti Gonzalez, I don't have an email address, I think. Yes, the others I have. Thank you. Mariti, could you send us an email to have your email address?
I have her email, so give me a second.
Okay.
Give me a second,
Okay.
I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
We do have several people in one country that are working on Pius, I think you're in Uganda, is that correct? Lupa, you're in Uganda or Kenya?
Lupa, did you hear Paul's question? Because his voice cut. He's asking whether you're based in Uganda.
He answered by written that he's in Uganda.
Okay, so Pius. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have somebody who is, I think you probably know him, Wanyama, is working in Kenya, and he is coordinating activities in Kenya. So that's relates to you as well, Erickson. So we need to coordinate with the people in particular countries to make sure you don't do double work. Could I ask each of you please to put into the chat your which country or countries you are able to work on, so we can coordinate a little. Francesca as well. Again, there's somebody called Letizia who you probably know who's also working on Italy. We need to avoid double work. Mariana, there is Maria Rosa, who you undoubtedly know, who is coordinating the work in Argentina.
Yes, Paul, we are together in the same organization. So
Okay, great. You're with Inter as well,
part
yeah?
of the countries, but yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I see that Lupa can work with somebody who's in South Sudan. That's excellent. We do need somebody from South Sudan. Yes, and Pablo is asking whether Mariana and Maria Rosa, can we extend the work beyond Argentina to the whole Pastoral Americas network?
We can try. Yep.
Okay, Francesca, Italy, Spain, France, and the other 6 countries. That's, I imagine, is Greece. I don't know what the other ones are. Portugal. Let me think. The Yolda initiative is, which is headed by Engin, is also working in the Mediterranean basin, and they have a lot of information about Spain, Morocco, France, Italy, Albania, Lebanon. And so we need to make sure that there's no overlap of effort between you and them, or maybe you're working together already.
It's fine. I will, I mean, regarding Lebanon, I will coordinate with Engin.
Okay, good. Thank you. Erickson, do you know Wanyama?
Yes, I know Wanyama.
Okay, good. So you're in touch with him, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. What will take information for your information from your countries, and I will dump it into the Excel spreadsheet that we have, and that I will send you. And so you can see the information that we already have. And then you can take that information and you can change it, you can correct it, you can do what you need to do with it to get us a cleaned version. So for some countries, we already have a little bit of information, but for many, we do not. Okay, I see that Pablo says in Tanzania, somebody else has offered his interest. That would be good. For India, Pranav, we had a lady called Asta Magu, who was working with us. Now she is unfortunately unable to continue. She has a full-time job. So you need to coordinate with Ilse on that to make sure that you're not duplicating work with Ilse. Okay, and Maria Rosa, you've seen that for the Argentina stuff that I've already put information into the map from your paper on pastoralists in Argentina. So so please do feel free to check that and expand on that. Okay, Francesca says, one more question on urban shepherds, transhumans passing through cities, but not necessarily stopping that. No, it's I would say that is a system that you're talking about, the cañadas, yeah? In Spain.
No, I'm not talking about cañadas. I'm talking about the Bergamini. Bergamini, it's in north of Italy. They go through Bergamo. And it's really something more than 600 years old. And it's a big fiesta when they go through. You can just look Bergamini on the website and you will see a lot of things cited. They pass through the city. It's a big fiesta since more than 600 years, but they are not staying in the city. So it's not a city we cannot call that city shepherds. But it's a great event organized since many years.
Okay, for something like that, I would describe the group that does it and say, describe the system that they move from wherever to wherever. And on the way, they pass through the city of Bergamo, and this is a big fiesta, and then give a link to the fiesta as one of the sources.
Okay, and perhaps there are also films. And another thing similar is in Marseille, of course, Madrid, that you know about. When working on transhumance and on pastoralism, you discover a lot of things that exist that were not as much known but who are worth to be cited or to be known.
Yes, no, that is the sort of information that we would like to include. For many of these groups, it's quite difficult to say something unique about them. Well, they keep camels, cattle, sheep, and goats in the dry lands of East Africa. Okay, there are 20 groups that fit that description, yeah? But if you can say that something special about them, such as they are involved in this particular festival, or that they produce this particular sort of cheese, or whatever it is, that adds something special to the description and will help us pull out the value of pastoralism from a cultural point of view. I mean, pastoralism is obviously valuable from many points of view, ecological and economic and goodness knows what, but the cultural aspects also we do need to highlight. So yes, please do include that sort of information. Okay, does anybody have any more questions or comments? I will obviously send you an email with these spreadsheets so you can fill them in. Could you please think about how long it will take you to provide whatever information you are able to provide us with? How much information and how much time you're able to put in is obviously entirely up to you, and we are very grateful for your willingness to help us on this. Please let me know, or let one of us know how much time you're able to do, and what your rough deadline is. Is it going to take you a week, or is it going to take you a month, or a couple of months, or however long? So we've got some idea of that. Sabino or Pablo, do you have anything else to add?
No.
No, for the moment, I don't have anything to add. No, thanks.
Okay. Pablo?
No, I think that's it.
Okay,
I will stop the recording now, right?
Okay, I will. I do have a guide to filling in the Airtable, the database that I showed you. That has got a lot more detail on the types of information that goes into this, and I will send it to you for your reference in case you have any further questions. Obviously, if you do have any questions, if you're in doubt about anything, then please feel free to get in touch with either me or Pablo or Sabina or Ilse, and we will try and to help you. Do get in touch rather than go off and do something and then go off and doing the wrong thing. We don't want to waste your time, obviously, and so we need to make sure that the information is comes in a suitable format. So if you do have any questions, then please do shout and ask questions rather than anything else. Okay, I have saved the chat as well. So, and Pablo has saved the recording. So I'd like to thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you.